geek like everybody else. But we wrangled him and made him come, so I asked him really tough questions. How much he got paid and all that stuff. Too little.
Hi guys.
You got the sketchbook.
How many of you guys were here yesterday and watched us weep? Watch us weep again?
Let me ask a question as I go down there to get the Q&A line started. What is one scene that you did that you just could not stop giggling through? That you just could not stop?
Hold on.
All of them. There were too many.
Effing years. I mean, that's 5 years. You got one?
Yeah.
One scene.
Oh, just one?
Yes.
Was that me having to smell your fart in an elevator?
Or a car?
That was more than
Or in a room, or in a closed room, or in the trailer of the car?
The first, well, this is an offshoot of that story, but like the first week.
The gas story.
The first week that we were working, I had Joanne as lookout for me. I'm like, I'm gonna go in Artie's trailer and take a poop. I'm like, watch out, make sure he doesn't come.
Cut to Saul with a crew member. I can't go in there. There is a smell that's not from a human being.
Hey, what do you want from Ohio? We were just talking about the
Your poop?
Well, that will be an ongoing topic.
I'm just ready for all the scatological humor.
Scat.
Scaliotish humor?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what that
Let's not.
For me, the scene that sticks out that I laughed the most was the prison scene with Coronel Rafael Obregón.
I must admit that I cracked myself up. But then, when the breeze blew and he goes, mustache flew. You know what I'm talking about? The telenovela episode. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, that episode was, I think, by far my favorite, just in regards to, because I'm an old.
Well, because it was about being allowed to be over the top, whereas normally Eddie's going after every take is going, too much? Was it too much? And then everybody goes,
Yes.
it was too much, but that's you. And Jack, our showrunner and director of a lot of the episodes, is running go, oh man, because he has to butter him up because then he gets very hurt with paranoid and he's childish. He says,
No, I'm not.
And Eddie, great, so great. Take it down. So one take it down. What the hell?
It wasn't too much.
Probably never use it.
But you know, like
We were allowed.
That's right.
Full license to be big and large and funny.
That's right. And you know, I'm an old fan of like Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman and Lucille Ball and you know, Mel Brooks. So the fact that we were, I mean, to me, we were doing just a big Mel Brooks, Carol Burnett shtick, and we had Harvey Korman's cufflinks, which was
Great artifact.
a great artifact. So.
Yeah, because Harvey Korman was famous on the Carol Burnett show for falling on a character and laughing his ass off and cracking everybody up. So the artifact let you fall out of character. So that was really cool. It was very smart. It was very, very smart episode. I loved it. Man, that was funny.
What about you, Skaggs?
You know, I don't know if I have a specific scene in mind where that happened to me. I remember there were a lot of occasions when it would happen to you and I mean, I feel like it happened to all of us. Somebody would just sort of say something off the cuff, off camera, and we would lose our minds with the giggles.
Yes.
And it just wouldn't, the harder, when that happens, and I think it happens to everybody, the harder you try not to laugh, the funnier it is. And then it gets scary, and then it becomes unfunny to everyone around you. And it's oh my God, the anxiety is mounting, but you just can't stop laughing. And then you're crying, and then you're in therapy.
See, I have the same problem with gas. I'm like, no.
See, I don't believe that you try not to.
I want to know how an episode like that telenovela episode started in the room. What happened? I'm curious about, I don't know how many of you are curious about the actual nitty-gritty nuts and bolts.
Yeah!
How these things are created. So I want to know how it happened.
Well, you know, it basically came about because it was our final season. And so it was sort of like, let's just throw everything we have up there and see what we can get away with and what we can't. And
So what they did, cancel.
cancel. They can renew us and then cancel us again. One of our really great writers, Diego, came up with the idea and pitched it.
Just Joanne's had an accident. She won't talk much, but she'll spell it. Moving right along. Don't be upstaged by these little things.
Oh, not at all. Basically, it was one of those things where it just all of a sudden you know in that moment where you're just like, oh my God, can we do this? Are we going to be able to do this? And Jack was saying, let's do this, and we pitched it to the network. Diego and Jack and Mark Stern at the time just said, I love this, and they were just like, all right, we're on this train, let's do it. And every step of the way, we were just thinking like, we're not going to be able to do this.
And then we went even further.
Yeah,
when we did it.
Yeah. Once we knew once we got up there and started shooting it, then it was just like, oh, okay, now you guys can really.
Yeah. It was because it was the last season.
So much fun.
They wouldn't have bought it earlier. So that's that.
Well, I have a question for Joe, which is, yes, when you went blonde in that one episode, how freaky was that?
I thought I looked like a heroin addict as a blonde. It was really weird. It was a wig. I don't particularly like wigs. This is something I found out as when I started wearing that wig. It was awesome. That was a really fun episode too, actually. That was the one where we woke up in bed together.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Strong like bull. Small like gerbil. Hey, I'm Irish. And it was cold.
That was
Expect some shrinkage.
I'm so quiet during all these panels, and the one time I try to get a word in edgewise, this one. This one.
What, we're gonna change it up now?
And now you get a sense of what goes on set.
I don't know. It wouldn't be.
It
It wouldn't be the same.
You know, Eddie,
I would miss it if you did.
so many times I want to stab you in the eye with a pencil.
Did you guys see trailer today?
I freaked out over a trailer.
I
Please come
did
up here.
too.
I'm sorry, just come here. Come here, trailer. Come here, trailer. She's even got the scarab artifact that squeaks.
She wants to know what her contract is going to be. How much?
I bet it's his daughter.
It's humping her leg.
Thank you.
Can't see and fell off the stage.
And lost.
And here's,
Hi.
here we go.
So the Secret Service has given Warehouse 13 an unusual structure. There's an untold number of regions.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why they're easier to kill off.
yeah, exactly. Knock them off, and then there's just more, and then there's Art. And in the first episodes, we get Pete and Micah, but Artie's the only surviving veteran agent we ever
Did you know that when we first went and did this research, that we found out this is something that I couldn't talk about in the first 5 seasons because I wasn't allowed to talk about it. But what they did with me is it isn't in South Dakota, but it's in a different state. And the U.S. government does have a series of warehouses, and there is a party, and there are artifacts that they're not imbued with magical powers, but they have
That we know of.
That we know of. And there are artifacts that it's a forest that is actually, one of them is 1.4 miles deep, and it is set into a mountain. I met 4 Arties. We had similar, and if you believe that, I've got a bridge.
Stop telling us that already.
This crowd, there isn't
You had me.
one person that I didn't have. Right? Come on, you believe me there.